That night still burns in my mind like it just happened yesterday. She told me she had to stay late at work, some big project, deadlines. You know, the usual excuse that sounds so normal you don't even question it. And I believed her. I really did. But hours later, I ended up standing in a parking lot, staring at her car and inside. She wasn't typing emails, she wasn't stressing about spreadsheets, she was sitting with a man I knew. And not just any man. But let me slow down. 'Cause if I just drop you there, you won't understand the weight of it. You won't feel the gut punch the way I felt it. Truth is, betrayal doesn't start with the act itself. It starts long before, when trust is built, when love feels solid, when you have no reason to doubt. That's where my story really begins. When I met her, I wasn't even looking for love. I was past that phase, or at least I thought I was. I had my routines, my job, my circle of friends. Then she walked into my life like a storm I didn't see coming. Funny how life works. You think you're steady, and then someone shows up and flips everything. She was smart, funny, quick with sarcasm, but also had that softness that made you feel safe. We clicked fast, maybe too fast, looking back. But in the moment, it felt like finding something you didn't know you were missing. We started dating, and like every new couple, those first months were full of late-night talks, random road trips, staying up too late watching movies we never finished because we got lost in conversation. You know that honeymoon phase where everything she does feels like magic? Yeah, I was in it deep. And truth is, she gave me no reason to think otherwise. She told me about her dreams, about working hard to move up in her company, about how she never wanted to settle for just average. I admired that about her. I've always respected people who hustle, who want more than just coasting through life. So when she said she was working extra hours, I believed her. I even encouraged it. Go for it, babe, I'd tell her. Climb that ladder. I've got your back, and I meant it. I meant every word. My friends would sometimes joke that she was too career-driven, that she was married to her job, but I brushed it off. I told them they didn't get it. She wasn't obsessed, she was just ambitious, and I loved that about her. Looking back now, I wonder if I was blinded by my own pride in her. Maybe I wanted to believe she was different, special, not like the others. We'd been together a while, long enough that people started asking, "So, when's the next step? Marriage? Kids? All that?" And honestly, I was considering it. I won't lie, had even looked at rings once or twice, just to see what was out there. That's how serious I was. She made me feel like we were building something real. But here's the thing about stories like mine. The cracks don't start big, they start small. Hairline fractures you almost miss. And in the beginning, I missed them. Or maybe I ignored them. Like the first time she said she had to stay late at work on a Friday night. I remember thinking it was unusual. But hey, deadlines happen, right? She came home tired, a little distant, but nothing that screamed wrong. I chalked it up to stress. We ordered takeout. She half ate her food, kissed me goodnight, and passed out. Totally normal, or so I thought. Then came the second time. And the third. And slowly, it started to become a pattern. Working late. Big project. Team meeting. Each excuse sounded reasonable, and each time I swallowed it without pushing back. Why wouldn't I? I trusted her. Trust, I learned, is a funny thing. It makes you blind in ways you don't realize until it's too late. I'd sit at home on those nights, flipping channels, waiting for her to come through the door, never once suspecting that the story I was living wasn't the story I thought it was. And maybe that's what hurts the most, not just what she did, but how easily I let myself believe. I guess that's why I'm telling this story, because maybe you've been there too. Maybe you've had that gut feeling, that whisper in the back of your mind saying, something doesn't add up. But you silence it. You tell yourself you're overthinking. That was me. over and over again, till that one night when the whisper turned into a scream I couldn't ignore anymore. It didn't happen all at once. It was little things, you know? It's the kind of details you shrugged off at first, because who wants to believe the person they love could be lying? The first thing I noticed was her phone. She used to leave it anywhere on. The couch, on the kitchen counter, sometimes even in the bathroom. She never cared. But then suddenly, that phone became glued to her hand. Notifications would pop up and she'd flip it face down, or she'd step out of the room to take a call. I remember asking her once, half joking, "Who's blowing up?" "Your phone, so much." And she just laughed and said, "Work. Clients. Boring stuff." Trust me, I laughed with her. But truth is, a small part of me wondered. Still, I buried it. Then came the nights out. She used to invite me everywhere: work, dinners, happy hours, even casual hangouts with her coworkers. But slowly, those invitations stopped. It was always just the team or networking thing, nothing special, and I wanted to be supportive. I told myself, she's just focusing on her career. She's trying to climb the ladder. That's what I admired about her, remember? So I let it slide. But one night, she came home real late. Her hair a little messy, makeup smudged, smelling faintly of perfume that didn't smell like hers. Not the one I bought her, not the one she always wore. A different scent, I noticed. I didn't say anything. I just stared at her for a second longer than usual and whispered to myself, maybe I'm imagining it. But here's the thing. You can only tell yourself that so many times before it starts to eat at you. I mean, you ever had that? That nagging gut feeling that won't let you sleep? Yeah, that was me. Nights got longer. She'd say she was working late, but when I called, sometimes she wouldn't pick up. Or she'd answer, whispering, like she was in a quiet place. Once, I asked, "Why are you whispering?" She laughed and said, "I'm in a late-night meeting, babe. Don't want to disturb." Sounded believable, right? But something about it didn't sit right. And then there were the excuses. Traffic was bad. I stayed to help a coworker. My boss needed last-minute changes, each one perfectly reasonable on its own, but stacked together. They started to look like a wall she was building between us. I even remember this one night I made dinner. Her favorite, candlelight. Music, the whole thing, just to surprise her. She texted me last minute. "Sorry, babe, have to stay late. Big project deadline." I understood, or at least I pretended to. I ate alone that night. Cold pasta, wine by myself, staring at the empty chair across from me. And guess what? Around. Midnight, she finally came home, tired, fake smile on her face, kissed me like everything was normal. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to hold on to the picture of us I had in my head. But the cracks, they were showing. Another time, she left her purse on the table while she showered. I didn't go snooping. I swear I didn't. But when I grabbed my keys, I noticed a receipt sticking out. A hotel bar, 2 glasses of wine, 1 appetizer. From the same Friday night she told me she was working late. I froze. My chest tightened. I picked it up, stared at it, trying to make sense. Maybe it was with coworkers. Maybe it was just drinks after work. My brain scrambled for excuses because facing the truth, that was too heavy. When she came out of the shower, I didn't say a word. I slipped the receipt back in her purse and pretended I hadn't seen it. Cowardly, maybe. But at the time, I wasn't ready. Not gonna lie, I felt like a fool even then. Like I was living with someone who had a whole other life just out of reach. And yet, I still clung to her words every time she said, "I love you." I wanted to believe, but the distance between us was growing. The way she avoided eye contact sometimes, the way she rushed out in the mornings, the way she seemed somewhere else, even when she was sitting right next to me. One evening, I caught her smiling at her phone, typing fast, then locking the screen when I walked into the room. I asked casually, "What's funny?" She looked up, startled, then forced a smile. "Oh, just a meme from a coworker." She turned the phone over, screen down. That's when I knew something wasn't right. But here's the part that still messes with my. Didn't call her out. Not yet. Instead, I swallowed it, let it sit in my chest like a stone. Because I thought, maybe if I ignore it, it'll go away. Maybe I'm paranoid. Maybe love means trusting, even when it feels impossible. But love shouldn't feel like denial, right? That whisper in my head, the one I told you about. By then, it wasn't whispering anymore. It was louder, pushing, and the more I tried to silence it, the more it demanded answers. Until one Friday night, the night everything changed, they finally decided to stop ignoring it. That Friday night, I couldn't sit still. I told myself I'd just stay home, watch a game, maybe order pizza, but the truth is, I couldn't focus. I kept glancing at the clock, checking my phone, waiting for her text. She'd said again. Like always, working late. But something about the way she said it this time felt different. Her voice was flat, distracted, almost rehearsed. And I thought, enough is enough. You ever hit that point where your gut is screaming at you so loud you can't ignore it anymore? That was me. I grabbed my keys, heart pounding, and decided to drive to her office, not to catch her, at least that's what I told myself, but just to prove my paranoia wrong. To see her car parked there, lights on in the building, maybe even catch a glimpse of her through the window, typing away. That's what I hoped for. That's what I wanted. I drove across town, every red light, feeling like it was mocking me, dragging out the moment of truth. When I pulled into the parking lot of her office, empty, completely empty. Dark windows, locked doors, and her car. Nowhere in sight. My chest tightened. I sat there for a minute, gripping the wheel, trying to breathe. Maybe she parked somewhere else, maybe she carpooled. My brain scrambled for excuses again, but deep down I knew. That was the moment the whisper in my head turned into a scream. I pulled out my phone and called her. No answer. Called again. Straight to voicemail. I stared at the screen, hands shaking. I texted, "Everything okay?" No reply. That silence. It was deafening. I sat there, engine running, debating what to do next. Part of me wanted to just go home, crawl into bed, pretend I hadn't seen the empty lot, pretend ignorance was still an option. But another part, the louder part, said, "No, not tonight. Tonight, you find out." I remembered the receipt I'd seen weeks earlier, the hotel bar. It wasn't far from her office, and something told me, check there. So I drove. Not gonna lie, my stomach was in knots. Every mile felt like I was inching closer to something I didn't want to see, but needed to. I pulled into the lot near the bar, scanning cars, and then, there it was. Her car, backed off to the side, like she thought nobody would notice. My hands went cold on the steering wheel. For a moment, I couldn't move. I just sat there, staring at it, my mind racing. Do I get out? Do I go inside? What if I'm wrong? What if she really is here with coworkers? I argued with myself, war in my head, but my heart already knew the truth. I stepped out, legs shaky, and walked slowly toward the bar. Through the glass windows, I could see groups of people laughing, drinking, clinking glasses. And then I saw her. My girlfriend. Sitting at a corner table. Not with coworkers, not with strangers, but with him. And the second my eyes locked on his face, my whole body went numb, because I knew him. He wasn't just some random guy. He was someone from my world, someone I trusted. My chest felt like it caved in. I froze outside that window, staring, trying to process what my eyes were seeing. She was leaning in, smiling, touching his arm. The same way she used to touch. Mine, they were laughing together like they had no care in the world, like I didn't even exist. And the worst part, they looked comfortable. Like this wasn't the first time. Like this was routine. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from her, "Still at work, babe? Don't wait up." I stared at the screen, then back at her, sitting right there with him. The lie cut deeper than the sight itself. Because at that moment, I realized she wasn't just cheating. She was crafting an entire story to cover it. Layer after layer of deception. I stepped back, heart racing, breath short. Do I walk in and confront them? Do I take a picture? Do I just leave? 1,000 options swirled in my head, none of them feeling right. And you know what? That hesitation ate me alive. I stood there for what felt like forever, just watching, my mind spinning. She looked happy. He looked relaxed. And me felt like a ghost on the outside of my own life. Not gonna lie. I wanted to storm in, flip the table, scream, demand answers. But another part of me, maybe the more rational parts, said wait. Think. Don't just explode. So I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo. Hands trembling, tears blurring my vision. I pressed the button anyway. Proof. Cold, undeniable proof. And as I lowered my phone, something inside me shifted. I wasn't imagining it anymore. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't overthinking. The truth was right there, staring me in the face. And now, there was no going back. I stood there outside that bar, staring at them through the glass like some stranger peeking into a life I thought was mine. My hands were shaking so bad I had to shove them in my pockets just to keep from looking like I was falling apart. Truth is, I was falling apart. Every second I watched them laugh together felt like someone twisting a knife deeper and deeper. And you know what really broke me? She looked happy. Not stressed, not tired, like she always claimed when she came home late. Happy, like she was living her real life and I was just the side act. My chest was tight, my throat dry, but I told myself, I can't just stand here. I can't let this slide. So I pushed the door open and walked inside. My heart was pounding so hard I swear everyone in that place could hear it. Step by step, I made my way across the room, each foot heavier than the last. They didn't see me at first. They were too wrapped up in their little world. Then, about halfway there, she turned her head. Our eyes met. And in that instant, everything froze. Her smile vanished. The color drained from her face. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. He turned too, confused at first, then guilty, then defensive, all in a matter of seconds. I stopped right in front of their table. My voice was low, shaking but steady enough. So, this is your overtime. She opened her mouth, closed it, then whispered, "It's not what it looks like." I laughed. Not the funny kind of laugh. The broken, bitter kind. Not what it looks like. Because from here, it looks exactly like what it is. He tried to chime in, saying my name, reaching a hand out like we were still friends, but I pulled back. Don't even say a word. The whole bar seemed to quiet down. Or maybe it was just in my head, but I swear I felt every eye on us. My girlfriend, well, ex-girlfriend from that moment, looked down at the table, fumbling for excuses. We just came here to talk, that's all. I pulled out my phone, the photo glowing on the screen. While you texted me, you were at work. While you built lie after lie. Her face flushed, tears welling up, but I didn't feel sympathy. Not this time. Not after months of gaslighting me into thinking I was paranoid. He finally spoke, trying to play the rational one. Look, man, it just happened. We didn't mean for it. I cut him off. Didn't mean for it? You think that makes it better? You sat across from me, smiled in my face, shook my hand, all while sneaking around behind my back with her. My voice cracked, but I didn't care. Let them see me raw. Let them see what they'd done. She reached for my hand across the table, whispering, "Please, let's talk about this at home. Not here, please." I pulled my hand back like her touch burned. "No, we talk here, right now, because I'm done being the fool in private while you play innocent in public." She started crying, full-on tears, mascara streaking, muttering about mistakes and confusion, but the truth was written all over her face, and me. I wasn't confused anymore. I was clear. Crystal clear. I stood there for a moment, letting the silence hang heavy. Then I said the words that had been building in my chest since the first night she lied. "We're done. Right here, right now." She gasped, tried to protest, but I shook my head. "Save it. I don't need explanations. I don't need excuses. You made your choice. And I'm making mine." The man someone I thought was a friend looked relieved almost, like me ending it gave them permission to keep going. That look alone made me sick. I turned on my heel, walked out of that bar, and into the cold night air. My hands were still, trembling, my chest still pounding. But for the first time in months, I felt a strange sense of control. Painful, yes. Crushing, absolutely. But controlled. Outside, leaning against my car, I finally let myself break down. Tears I'd been holding. Back spilled over. Not just for losing her, but for losing the illusion I'd been clinging to. I'd loved a version of her that didn't exist anymore, or maybe never existed at all. And you know what? That realization hurt worse than catching her in the act. Because betrayal isn't just about what they did, it's about the pieces of yourself you gave away. Trusting they'd protect them, only to watch them smash it all without hesitation. I sat in that car for a long time, staring at my phone. Reading her text again, "Still at work, babe. Don't wait up." The cruel irony of those words burned into me. I deleted it. Deleted every sweet text, every photo, every fake memory she'd used to cover her lies. And when my phone buzzed again, her name lighting up the screen, I let it ring. Again and again. I didn't answer. Not anymore. Because this time, the silence was mine. I didn't go back inside that bar. I didn't answer her calls. I just drove. No destination, no plan, just me and the empty road and the weight in my chest that felt heavier with every mile. The streetlights blurred through my tears, and not gonna lie, I felt like I was losing my mind. You think you know someone? You think you've built something solid? And in a single night, it all crumbles like sand slipping through your fingers. I ended up in some empty parking lot, engine still running, just sitting there staring at the steering wheel. Her name kept flashing on my phone. Call after call, text after text. "Please, let's talk. It's not what you think. Come home." But every word just felt like more lies. I tossed the phone onto the passenger seat and stared out into the dark. And that's when the anger hit. I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. Furious at her, furious at him, but mostly furious at myself, for ignoring the signs, for swallowing excuse after excuse, for convincing myself love meant blind trust, when, really, it just made me blind. I pounded the steering wheel until my hands hurt, screaming into the empty car. And then, after the anger passed, came the quiet. The hollow kind of quiet where you finally accept the truth. I drove home hours later. The house felt different, like it wasn't mine anymore. Every photo of us, every little memory tucked into the corners, it all felt poisoned. I sat on the couch, staring at the wall, waiting for her to walk in. And eventually, she did. Eyes red, makeup smeared, voice trembling. "Please," she said, standing in the doorway like a stranger. "Please. Let me explain." I shook my head. "There's nothing to explain. I saw it. I saw you. And I saw him." She dropped her bag, fell to her knees, sobbing. She talked about stress, about confusion, about how she didn't mean to hurt me. And maybe once upon a time, those words would have broken me, would have made me want to fix it. But not that night. Something inside me had already broken too far to repair. I told her, calmly but firmly, "Pack your things. Tonight, we're done." She begged, pleaded, promised it would never happen again. She tried to touch me, to hold my hand, but I pulled away. Because every touch felt like fire now, not warmth. I slept on the couch that night, listening to drawers opening, bags zipping, her muffled sobs as she packed up pieces of the life we'd built together. And when the front door finally closed behind her in the early hours of the morning, the silence was deafening. But it was also freeing. The days after were rough. I won't sugarcoat it. Waking up alone in a bed that still smelled like her. Cooking for one, deleting old photos, it felt like ripping off a bandage that had been stuck too long. Friends reached out. Some said they'd never trusted her. Others just sat with me in the silence. My family tried to remind me I'd be okay, that it was better to know the truth now than later. And they were right. But at the time, it felt like my whole world had collapsed. Not gonna lie, there were moments I wanted to call her, to hear her voice, to pretend it hadn't happened. But then I'd remember that text, still at work. "Babe, don't wait up." And the image of her sitting across from him, smiling, happy. And that reminder, it was enough to stop me. Over time, the anger faded. The hurt dulled. What remained was clarity. She didn't just betray me, she taught me. Taught me that love without honesty isn't love at all. That trust isn't blind, it's earned. And once it's broken, it can't just be glued back together with words. I started to rebuild. Slowly. One day at a time. I focused on myself, on the things I'd neglected while I was so wrapped up in her. And little by little, I began to feel stronger. But here's the truth that lingers. The part nobody tells you about betrayal, it doesn't just end when they leave. It stays. In the quiet moments, in the scars you carry forward, and it changes you. Some might call it bitterness, but I call it wisdom. Because now, I'll never ignore those whispers again. If something feels off, I'll listen. If someone's actions don't match their words, I'll pay attention. And maybe, just maybe, that's the only silver lining in all of this. She lost me that night, but I lost more than her. I lost the version of her I thought I knew. The future I thought we were building. The trust I thought was unshakable. And that's the part that hurts the most. But you know what? I survived it. And if you've ever been where I was, staring at the truth you never wanted to see, you'll survive too. Because in the end, betrayal doesn't define you. Your response does, and mine is walking away.